And India has also welcomed the agreement between the United Kingdom and Mauritius on the return of Mauritian sovereignty over the Chaogs Islands, including Diego Garcia. India's Ministry of External Affairs has said that, and I quote, "We welcome the agreement between the United Kingdom and Mauritius on the return of Mauritian sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia. This significant understanding completes the decolonization of Mauritius. The resolution of the long-standing Chagos dispute after 2 years of negotiations in compliance with international law is a welcome development." The statement further said that India remains committed to working with Mauritius and other partners to strengthen maritime security and contribute to peace and prosperity in the Indian Ocean region. Let's talk about this further. Joining us now is former Indian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Yashwardhan Singha. Thank you for joining us. If you could just tell us about the significance of this agreement, because it had been something that would, of course, end any vestige of colonization in Mauritius, because that is something that Mauritius had been pursuing. But even strategically, how significant is it?
I think it's a very important development, particularly since when Mauritius got independence in 1968. The Chaogs Islands were earlier, 3 years ago, before the independence, basically hived off and made British overseas territory. And in the 70s, the Americans set up a base at Diego Garcia. And Mauritius has been fighting for sovereignty over this archipelago of 60 islands for a long time. In fact, if you recall, in 2017, the UN General Assembly requested for an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice, which was given in 2019 in favor of Mauritius. And I think bilateral negotiations between the UK and Mauritius have now successfully concluded. And I think India has rightly welcomed this development, because the last vestiges of decolonization and in that region, especially as far as Mauritius is concerned, would be complete. Of course, there is also an agreement that the base would be allowed to be continued because it would be on a 99-year lease. But the sovereignty issue, which is the most important, and of course the displacement of the 1,500 people of Chaogs Island, that has to be looked into more closely, because this has attracted attention of human rights activists and various international human rights organizations all over the world.
Right. So the gain for Mauritius here is beyond notional in terms of being free of colonialism altogether. There is a monetary aspect to it as well, isn't it?
Well, you see, the fact that it is going to be on a lease, I don't have the exact terms of the lease, but certainly the most important thing as far as Mauritius is concerned, that the UK has agreed to hand over the islands in terms of the sovereignty of the islands to Mauritius. But that was the disputed point. And the UK was arguing in the ICJ and other international fora against Mauritius' claim. So I think this is a very good development. And as I said, one of the leftovers of a colonial era, which is now being resolved.
And India has also had a role to play in this. It has been pursuing the case of Mauritius as well, forwarding it or taking it forward with other countries, along with other countries as well?
Well, you see, India is one of the leaders of the decolonization movement, if you remember. And I personally was a member of the UN Decolonization Committee, the C24, the turn of the century. And the Chaogs Island was an agenda item. But India has always been supportive of Mauritius in this regard. In the UN General Assembly, there have been votes where India has continuously supported Mauritius' claim on the Chaogs Islands. And yet, I think because the UK is also a very important partner of India, we are particularly happy that this matter has reached finality in terms of at least the ownership of the islands.
Mm-hmm. And what would it mean for the Indian Ocean region, which is a highly contested space, particularly because of the kind of attitude China has had, not just where the South and East China Seas are concerned, but the wider Indian Ocean region?
Well, I think we stand for free and open Indo-Pacific, the wider Indian and Pacific Oceans. So I think it's important that no country is allowed to sort of disrupt, the international trade and security of the littoral states, etc. So I think it's important that there is also some balance as far as the great powers are concerned. I know that in the past we have opposed the presence of foreign troops and foreign bases in the Indian Ocean. But I think if you look at the overall security architecture now, you need to understand how the power play is taking place in this region. And I think the fact that the American base will be allowed to continue there is also a recognition of that reality.
All right. Thank you, Yashwardhan Sinha, for joining us and talking about this significant development in our vicinity.